Hi there, my name is JC. I am from South Africa. I have had a urethral stricture since the end of high school, which I got as a result of a physical injury. Um, I was officially diagnosed with the urethral stricture in 2015, and then I started researching, solutions to urethral stricture. At that point, I could still live with it. It wasn't affecting my life severely, but it was always in the back of my mind. And then gradually, it started getting worse to the point where it started affecting me. It was causing a backache, sort of pains in the kidney areas, and painful urination or burning urination, frequent urination, all those kinds of things associated with urethral stricture. So I started researching solutions or procedures that could cure urethral stricture. And being a person that doesn't use a lot of medicine or doesn't go to the doctor a lot, I'm reasonably healthy. I always look for natural alternatives first. And so I came across the Utarbasti. But needless to say, there wasn't a lot of information about it. And there wasn't a lot of information in English as well. But I did find some medical reports, some limited medical studies, and of course I came across Brahma Ayurveda. Um, so I had the information about that, but I felt that at that point I felt like it was risky for me to, go to India, a place I've never been before, and do a procedure in Ayurvedic medicine, which is something I also didn't have a lot of experience with. So when my condition started getting worse, I opted, even though I knew about the Uttarabasti, I opted to do a Western procedure first. So I went for a first dilatation, and needless to say, it was a very painful, unpleasant experience. The doctors weren't extremely, friendly or helpful because they go through that thing all the time, and it's not a pleasant experience, I think, for the patients or the doctors, in the Western way of doing things, because, like I said, it's an invasive, painful procedure. At least it was for me. It was was very unpleasant. Um, and then afterwards, you're wearing a catheter and a bag for about 2 3 weeks. So it really wasn't a good experience for me. But afterwards, it helped, of course. My urinary flow was better, but it started declining again. And within 1 year, I was back to where I was before. And so I was scared of going through that experience again. And so I just continued to live my life, and it was fine for a while until one day I actually had complete urinary retention. I could not urinate at all, even though my bladder was full. So I had to rush emergency to the hospital, just so they could, with a catheter, at least try to drain it. And then I was booked for an emergency, another dilatation after that, which again was the same unpleasant, painful experience. Lots of blood, lots of pain and swelling, and again with the catheter in the bag. And so after that second experience, I was booked for a urothrotomy after that. But I was just then reading more and more about the prospects of actually the success rate of that, and it just didn't seem worth it for the amount of pain and invasion that you would have to go through. And the success rate statistically just seemed very, very slim. So at that point, I decided, you know, the Western doctors are telling me this is probably something I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. So what do I have to lose to go to India and try the Uttarbasti? So that's when I contacted Dr. Narayan from Brahma Ayurbeda, and he was extremely helpful when we were corresponding on email and on the phone. He would answer all my questions. He really put me at ease about everything. He helped me get the documentation I needed for medical visa to go to India. And so it was just a very reassuring process talking to him. And so then I finally made my way to India, and I must admit it was a bit of a scary experience at first, going to a place I'd never been before. Arriving in the town of Gujarat, I must say I had my doubts, and all the while I was skeptical of this procedure, because how can in Western medical procedures there be nothing to work for this effectively, and here's this sort of miracle cure that's going to work for me. So I was skeptical, but when I arrived at the hospital, it felt really good. It was a very pleasant environment, very clean, uh, good looking hospital. The staff were extremely friendly. Dr. Narayan and his family were extremely inviting and friendly, and immediately made me feel just very at ease. And I started my procedures the very next day after arriving. So I had a sitting every day for about 20 minutes. And yeah, compared to the Western procedures that I went through, it was completely pain-free and felt non-invasive, completely non-invasive compared to the other procedures I had done before. And so that was already a good experience, just the fact that it wasn't painful, it wasn't invasive, and straight after that 20-minute sitting, I could, get up and walk outside and go explore the town. And yeah, it was a very comfortable stay in the rooms they had available at the hospital, good food. So the whole experience was extremely pleasant. And just being in that environment, their hospital, Brahma Ayurveda, feels extremely healing just being there. Um, so I went through those procedures every day, I think, for about 3 weeks, and I went away from those Uttar sittings, came back to South Africa, and everything was good. I had good urine flow rates again. I wouldn't say it was perfect. It was still down from what I think it was before I ever got a stricture, but it was good. Definitely better than, like, say, or the same at least as after getting a dilatation. But I still had some struggles with inflammation after that. So after a while, my flow rate started going down again, but it felt a lot different than before. It didn't feel like the stricture, it just felt like inflammation. So I was struggling with that. So I spoke to Dr. Narayan. He recommended that I come back for a second sitting, and so I did that. And after the second sitting, or the second session, which was I think about 2 weeks, that time it was a bit shorter. After that time, I came back, and everything was perfect. I still had a little bit of inflammation, but that went away after a while. And now it has been 2 years after the Otarbasi procedure, and I am very happy to say that I no longer have a urethral stricture, and I have absolutely no problems, no inflammation, no pain. My urine flow is extremely good, and it's been good consistently for 2 years. And I've waited 2 years to do this testimonial video, because after other procedures I've had, like I said, within a year, the flow rate is back. So I'm very confident that now, after 2 years, I'm never in my life going to have problems from a urethral stricture again. Um, so I can actually live a good, happy, normal life. once again, which is amazing to say, because before I thought living with the urethral stricture, I didn't know how I was going to cope. There was a point where I felt like I wanted to take my own life because I didn't know how I was going to live with this. So thank you to Dr. Narayan Brahma Ayurveda Hospital for this amazing, amazing medicine that you guys provide. They really care about healing people, getting to the root of the problem, curing it, and not just treating symptoms. So if you have a urethral stricture or any kind of urological problems, I highly recommend that you contact Brahma Ayurveda before you try anything else and possibly cause more harm to yourself. Go to them first.